what are your plans to raise your children? Because I know you're only 21 or 22 right now, but you're very forward thinking in your approach and your life. So I know you've thought about the plan you're going to raise your children with.
Yeah. So with my children, it's a tough one because I want to give them the best education possible. And basically the thing is with my children is I never want to give them something that they get a sense of pride from that they haven't earned themselves. Like, for example, I'm very into watches. I will never give everyone wants to sort of pass down a watch to their child. I'm okay. Like, maybe when they're 30 or something like that, and they've made it on their own, maybe then I'll pass something down and it'll be meaningful. But I don't want, or if it is, like, for example, let's say if I give my kid something on their 18th, it'll be, a watch that's still pretty expensive, maybe like a Jaeger LeCoultre, like a watch person's watch, that's very expensive, but like, no, they're not going to walk into school and be like, I have a JLC on my wrist. Whereas like, you give them a Rolex for even half the price, and they walk into school and, everyone thinks they're cool and this and that. So yeah, my kids aren't going to get anything because it's like, man, it's, all this stuff is very like, money is really like fucks you up, honestly. Like, money fucks you up. Even to this day, like I fight with it. Like it's a really weird thing. Like when you have money and it's, like everyone says, I hear this all the time. Like Instagram is probably the worst place to get your advice from on earth because it's just a cesspool of just the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like you see all the time, like money doesn't make you happy, but I'd rather cry in a Toyota than a Lambo. It's like, that's not true at all. Like it's way worse to cry in a Lambo because if you cry in a Lambo, then it's like, genuinely, it's like, there's nothing left to hide. Like you're naked. It's like you're you're crying because you're fundamentally unhappy, and that's really scary. And like I've even faced that in the past few years where it's like I'm not happy, and it's like, and it's not an extended period of time, but it could be even a couple months or something, and I'm like, you're not happy because like there's nothing left. Like there's no next check mark that you can be like, okay, once I get that, then I'll be happy. It's like you've checked all the check marks that one could want. Like it's your fucking fault, dude. So as I said, I think money just brings a whole host of like just weird complications, and I genuinely think is like, and I will say I had this, and here's a clip that I'm sure someone will clip this and then hold it up as a way to cancel me. But luckily I'm so, if anyone see my social media, I'm like, I try to cancel myself before anyone else can cancel me. I really am. I talk about anything and everything. I think it's very different for men and women. Men without work have no, and by the way, this can be the masculine and the feminine polarity. So those women who are it's a small sliver. It's no more than 10%, but like there's women who are really just very masculine in their core, and men who are just very feminine in their core. And, so I'm talking more about the masculine and the feminine energy, but like, men as a whole, we have to conquer. Like that's what we're here to do. Whereas with women, it's very different. So I actually was having this conversation with a friend of mine. It's like, my son will never get anything, for sure. My daughter, sometimes I think about that. I'm like, if she found something that really makes her, and this is like, for example, like where I know a person's level of intellect is very low when they bring up stuff like the gender pay gap. It doesn't take a genius to figure out women do enjoy doing stuff that on average gets paid less. So, for example, and the reason I say this is because, I would love for my daughter to have an incredible quality of life. And let's say she does end up deciding that her passion is something that's not extremely well paying, but she does it, number one. And number two, she has great reverence, a deep reverence and great respect for the craft. And she puts 100% in, then maybe I might supplement her income. If my son does that, you're on your own.
It's funny. I think that the intention is good in terms of helping. We want men and women to be equal. We want to treat people the same way, but that can sometimes manifest itself in incorrect behavior or behavior that doesn't actually make sense to our core as human beings. So it's a fascinating thing, treating people differently.
Tell me, the world has gone fucking crazy, man. Like it's, I think it's growing up, like one of my biggest superpowers, honestly, is having a Russian mother, like an Eastern European mother who grew up in the Soviet Union. Like she's just so non-bullshit, you know, and it's like, man, I'm honestly so blessed. Like I'm just being honest, I would hate to grow up in the US. Like your guys, like I see your guys, obviously not you, but like as a whole, like the US, like the Western world, man, the morals are just so fucked. So yeah.
Yeah, I also think that it's different when you're outside of the system looking into it versus actually in it. You experience different things, and the way it's portrayed might not be how it actually is. So that's one thing.